Hey everyone, it's Rambling Hour with Lisa, season 16, episode 3. Oh, that's gonna bug me, this white cord right here. This is part 2. This is part 2 of 2 with my supernatural, spooky stories and everything, telling you what experiences I've had in life and why I believe what I believe now and what has brought me to this point. So last week we talked about everything up until about 2007, August 2007, we bought a place in Saskatchewan, and then we were really, really busy, and it wasn't until September, like the next month, that we actually got to settle in and like start living there. So that's the place that I lived before I moved to England. So I lived in that mobile home for 7 years before I moved to England. So first I want to show you guys Gary the ghost. He is, so if you guys have ever watched the show Impractical Jokers, there's this one part where they talk about Larry. This guy's running back and forth and he's saying, Larry. And so now Allison was with me when I bought Gary, and we were joking about like, Gary. And we talked about like how we're going to use him and like just put him in different places. You know how the elf on the shelf like ends up in different places every day? Well, we're going to do that with Gary, but he's not going to do anything mischievous. He's just going to be in a random place where you look up and you're like, Gary! So I just want to shout, Gary! Like they do Larry on Impractical Jokers. So if you hear me shout, Gary! That's where it's from. Anyways, so yeah, this is my latest friend, Gary the ghost. And not only is he great for Halloween, he is perfect for the stories that we're talking about today. So don't be afraid of him. He is no trouble at all. I have wore this hoodie before for my live when I was outside a couple of years ago, but that's okay. It says Edmonton, where I'm from, established 1892, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And Steve really liked this hoodie. I got it from the airport. I think when I was coming back from my dad's funeral in 2017. And when we were there now, I looked for something similar. But yeah, I haven't seen anything similar. Then I guess I could try and make one. I would have to find a design like this and try and make something like this for Steve. The other thing I wanted to say, it's not one of my Rambling Hour videos, but I did this video that's on it's pinned to the top of my page right now on Facebook, but it's me putting Spam in the microwave to see what happens. The thing that I did notice on that one is not, with my long hair, not to have the microphone pinned like on the side, because if my hair is over the microphone, it doesn't pick up the sound very good. I actually noticed that the closer I was to the microphone, the better it was. So I might even pin it higher. Steve bought me, you know, the microphone that I was trying, that it's wireless, and then the little thing sticks into the bottom of your phone. But the one he bought me was a USB-C one, so he could use that with his phone. But mine takes a lightning cable, so he bought me one now with a lightning thing. I had it out. I was going to try it, but then I realized I hadn't charged it because it's wireless, and so I'll try that next week. Is there any more housekeeping? There'll be some things that we'll talk about after the ghosty stories, but let's get on with it. Also, sorry that I missed you last week. As you guys know, I was at CrimeCon. It was awesome. I think Steve would have really liked it. It was cool and like different than I thought it would be in some ways. So like when you're watching the panels and stuff and the people who were talking there were some that me and Steve have even seen on TV shows when we've watched different crime shows and stuff together. So I don't know why I didn't think Steve would enjoy it, but I think he would. So if we go again, it is expensive, especially like it was a 3-hour drive. I drove 3 hours, then I got the train in for 45 minutes to an hour into London. And luckily the train, the way that Steve set it up for me, because I let him do all the research me to get there, the town that he made me stop and take the train in, that train went directly to, like when I came up from the underground, I was like right where I needed to be. So that was really a good idea. So when I was done, get back into the underground, take the train, go right back to where my car is, and then drive 3 hours home. So it was a long day, but it was enjoyable. And I got to meet Generation Y podcast, which Justin and Aaron, which are who I really wanted to meet. And even, not that that wasn't exciting if the guys ever watch this, but even more exciting. And I didn't know that I was going to see her because she was doing the speaking the day before. So I didn't realize she was going to be there on the Sunday as well, let alone having a booth where you could get like, you know, her merchandise or whatever. Mom says, hi, Lisa. Hi, Mom. So there is a lady in crime. Her name is Laura Richards, and she has a podcast called Crime Analyst. And she is the one, if you've heard of coercive control, she didn't invent the term, but she is the one who is getting it out there in the mainstream, talking about how abusive relationships are not always physical. There's such thing as coercive control, and that can be a huge thing in relationships. So I absolutely love Laura Richards, and I got to meet her, and I bought a Crime Analyst t-shirt and all of that. But like I said, let's get on with the ghost stories. I have my book here, so I'm going to continue where we left off last week. And I just see that Jackie Holcroft is watching, and hopefully she enjoys these stories as well. Okay, so I'm just going to make a line, part 1 and part 2. So part 1 of these stories I recorded 2 weeks ago. So it is on my Facebook under photos, videos, and you'll see kind of the same setup a little bit. It was yellow candles, but yeah, it's in front of the fireplace. So part 1 of like what I can remember from when I was little up until, like I said, 2007. So when we moved to Saskatchewan, we lived in a trailer, like a mobile home. Here they call them caravans, but it's not just a camping caravan. Like it was like a big one. It was 70 foot long, 3 bedrooms. Like I loved it. I wish that there was enough, like 3 bedrooms instead of 2 bedrooms for well, there was 3 bedrooms, but one was for me, right? But I wish there was 3 bedrooms for the girls so that they each had their own room. But other than that, the kitchen was a good size. The living room was a good size. The bathroom was an amazing size. And yeah, it was great, but loved that place. So as you guys may or may not know, on the prairies where I grew up, Saskatchewan is still part of the prairies. The winters are really cold and we can get lots of snow. So what happened with this was in the living room, the kids are already sleeping. Michael, I don't know where he was. He wasn't home. And there was this huge bang on the side of the living room wall coming from the, I don't remember which way was which in that town. I can't remember where the sun set. Anyways, it was coming from the back side, that way. All right. So the trailer is this way. The living room is at the front. And it's, oh, wait. Okay. So south. Oh, yeah. You know what? I do remember the directions because my trailer was south facing because I got awesome sun in the living room. It was south facing. So if that's south and that's north, then east. Okay. So the east wall. I had heard this huge bang on the side of the wall. It's the middle of winter. It's like honestly sounded like a moose had run into the side of the building. It was crazy. I went outside to check, and there was no footprints in the snow, nothing that could have caused that. And it wasn't just a building shifting. Like if there was moisture in the wall, it would freeze. And then when it thaws, it kind of cracks and stuff. This was none of that. It was like such a huge loud bang. It didn't wake up the kids, but it was like just really strange. So, oh, actually, sorry, I actually went to Ontario before this. So hang on. So if that was, or hang on. See, I was just telling the story and I couldn't remember either if I had met Jackie and Steve before this happened and they had explained to me how to, like, if I had learned how to open and ground and protect and close and everything, or if this happened before I met them, but Jackie just told me how to do these things, trusting that I would be okay to do them. So I'm going to tell this, I'm going to continue telling this story, But just know that this is before, even if I had gone to a retreat already with Jackie and Steve, I am still a newbie at this and not good with like, what do I do now? I had watched Rescue Mediums, so I knew how Jackie did rescues and all of those things, but I didn't know what was happening. But I did start following Jackie on Facebook. So okay, let me go back to that. So I started watching the show called Rescue Mediums, and I loved every ghost show and everything. So I tried to watch like everything about ghosts and all those things. But most of the shows were like doing investigations and like being like, oh, did you hear that? And then, you know, I think there's somebody here, and like just trying to prove if ghosts were real or not. And I was kind of like, I already know they're real, so let's get on with like something more than just trying to prove if they're real or not, right? There's great for those shows for the skeptics, but those of us who know that there's a spirit world, let's have a program that's, you know, catered to us. So Rescue Mediums was a TV show that did that. It was 2 English ladies. It was filmed in Canada, and the homes that they went into were in Canada. So 2 English ladies who were both mediums. If homeowners are having an issue with spirit, they would get a hold of the Rescue Mediums, and they would come in. They would, you know, go around the house, communicate with the spirits, and see why the spirits were there and what they needed. If they just wanted to stay around there because that was their home and they loved it. If they, you know, sometimes if someone has dementia when they pass, this isn't always the case, so don't think that your loved one is just stuck. But sometimes they might not realize they've died yet, so they're kind of just stuck in the in-between. Their loved ones are right there in the light waiting for them, but they kind of need, and don't worry, time is different over there as well. So it's not like they feel, like if it's been 30 years, it doesn't mean that it feels like it's been 30 years for them. But they're kind of just stuck in this limbo. Something that a medium can do is just say like so another reason that they might be stuck there is if you were raised really religious and you believe in something like hell, and you've done bad things in life, some people will believe that they're going to go to hell if they go through the light, so they're scared to go. But you know, hell, I mean, again, it depends on what you believe and everything else, but we create our own hell. Even on earth, we create our own hell. So just, you know, you try to encourage any spirit to go through the light and deal with what they need to deal with. Yes, so that's what Jackie and the first few seasons was a lady named Christine, and then the last few seasons was a lady named Allison. But Jackie is throughout the whole thing. So let me say this now. Rescue Mediums, you can get a few episodes on YouTube, but if you want all the series, the complete set, you can see them all at veryparanormal.com. So Rescue Mediums. I started watching the show, fell in love with them, especially Jackie. I just loved her. I was learning so much about spirit and how to deal with them and everything from her. I started following her on Facebook, and I loved that she actually interacted with her fans and stuff. And then I found out they were doing retreats in Canada. So I started saving my money for that. The first retreat I went on is 2012, but let's go back to like 2007 or whenever this happened. So in this time, I was watching Rescue Mediums. I was friends with Jackie on Facebook, and I was having this big bang that happened in the living room. Not too long after that, it happened again. Again, the same thing, just a huge bang, no reason or rhyme for it, just what the heck was that? When it happened the third time, it was in the bedroom, still on the east side of the trailer, because the trailer is long ways this way, right? So the east side, just a big bang, and Michael, my ex-husband, was there, and he heard it as well, and we just could not explain what this was. So I thought maybe it was supernatural, so I messaged Jackie, told her what was going on, and that I thought maybe, like, what I was seeing in my mind was, like, this skinny man on that side of the house, like, and so she explained that, he might be trying to find the light. She explained to me how to do a rescue and how to be safe with it and everything else. Even though she told me how to do these things, I was still a bit afraid. So in my mind, in the living room, on the wall that had the two bangs, I pictured, in my mind, like, it was like a double door, and I asked for, like, guards to be there too, so that I was really scared to open a door. Any type of portal or door or anything like that, it's a bit scary. So I was ready to open the door to like let the light shine through for the spirit to go into the light if that's what was necessary. In the time from when I had the bangs to when Jackie told me how to do this, it was a while before I got to the point of actually doing it. Now, again, I think this was before I went on a retreat and knew how to do my grounding and protection. I can't remember for sure. But where I seem to relax the most and everything, this is a very expensive, and I don't suggest this. A bathtub, maybe, but even baths can be expensive if you put a lot of water in your tub. But I used to just sit in the dark in the shower and just relax and zone and everything else. I didn't realize that's what I was doing was meditating, but it is what I was doing. So I would just sit and zone and let the, the warm rain basically of the shower hit me and relax. I also didn't pay for water when I lived in the village, and we had our own pump station. So it was natural water that went in from one holding pond and then to the other holding pond that you know what I mean? Like it, and it went through the pump station. So it wasn't like it's still clean water. It's still a waste, but it wasn't. Anyways, let me stop trying to justify the water usage and tell you the story. So, sitting there, relaxed, picturing the double doors, guards there in case anything happens. And I open the doors and I see the man and I tell him, come through. Again, this is a skinny man that I can see wearing jeans that are like too big for him. Like they're just like, he looks very skinny, like maybe the jeans fit him at one time, but he's just gotten quite thin. He's wearing a long sleeve plaid, or they call it check here, a long sleeve check shirt, and a little bit of scruffy hair, straight, dark, because I'm still trying to see him in my head now. I'd have to check in my journal to see exactly what I wrote, but that's how I'm seeing him now still. It wasn't too long, but it wouldn't be like a fresh short haircut either. And I just, they brought him into the light. The weird thing that happened after that was that there was all these shadow people in this side of my property had the most garden or yard on that side. And then there was a field behind my house. And there was so many shadow people there. So, like hundreds of shadow people. And they started piling into the light, into the doors. And I was just like, wow, like what the heck? So what I kind of think now or whatever is that they knew that I was going to be opening doors and having the light shine for where they needed to go. And so they started gathering, obviously waiting for me to open these doors. I don't like, again, whether you think this stuff is real or not, I knew what I had to do to help this man that was on the side of my house or whatever, to see if this would make the banging stop. But whether it's my imagination or whatever, although I don't believe it was my imagination, I believe this stuff is real, I could not have thought that I would think of like all these shadow people just pouring into the doors, into the light. This was happening, like I said, I was sitting in the shower for a while. And again, this stuff can be very tiring doing this type of work. So it was when there was like lots of them, and then it started kind of dwindling, but there was a few here and a few there, and there was still more coming, but it was dwindling. And I was like, okay guys, I need to close the doors. I will come again and open them, but I need to close the doors. I'm tired. I can't just sit here like this for so long. I'm sorry. I wish I could keep them open the whole time for anybody who needs to go in, but it's not how this works. So I need to close them now, but I will come again and open them. So I closed the doors, with the guards, just protection. And, again, in the spirit world, if you open any door, it's like the door to your house. If you have your door open, you need to close it when you leave, or when, you need to be safe, right? You don't want to just invite anything in. So I closed the door, and the stuff, the big bangs and stuff stopped happening. And I found out, like, 2 doors down from my house on the east side, there was a man who hung himself in his garage there. I still do not have, I've never asked anybody in Meath Park for a picture of the man, and I don't even know his name. But like I said, I've described him to you, and it's written in my journal, like the description, very thin, long sleeve check shirt. So, a bit of straight dark hair, not too long, but definitely not short. so I don't know what he looks like in real life, but it would be very cool if I think of it to ask somebody from Meath Park, or if anyone's watching this from there, to figure out what he looked like, to see, you know, the confirmation if that is what he looked like. So that was crazy experience that I had, and I will tell you again about opening the doors again, but that comes later. I'm going to write it down though so I don't forget. Reopen doors. Okay, so I kind of started telling you about, oh, okay, well, yeah, so when I still lived in Meath Park in Saskatchewan, we had a restaurant for a while, and there was a ghost there. People who owned the restaurant before, and it was an old train station turned into a restaurant, but before that it was a daycare and other things. Auntie Joan says, hi, Marie and Lisa. Hi, Auntie Joan. So when we bought it off of a lady named Debbie, it was a restaurant already. It was called RHwL Restaurant. When we bought it, she owned the name, so we changed it to Ghost Rails Family Diner, including the name Ghost in there because, you know, woo, I'm so spooky, but also because the train tracks didn't go behind it anymore. So, because it used to be a train station, but the train tracks were taken out, it was like a ghost train. And I had Family Diner on there because we had young kids and we wanted it to be a family establishment. I wanted people to know that there might be kids here when you come out for your dinner. Sorry that Lena's barking. I think, well, it's not even October yet. I don't know if people are setting off fireworks. There's bonfire night on remember the 5th of November. And that's like bonfire night and lots of fireworks and everything. And people just start setting them off early, but that's like over a month away. So I don't know why. I heard fireworks last night, and she barks sometimes like that when she can hear the fireworks. So just ignore her, please. My cousin Christine says, hello, Lisa. Hi, Christine. So, Tom, that's what we called the ghost. That's the name I got, like I sensed, whatever. So we just called him Tom in the restaurant. I didn't really have any, so I know that Lena's drinking water now. So just, I'm sorry about the slopping in the background. So I know that there was somebody before we got the restaurant that the spirit there knocked like cans of stuff down in the kitchen, and different things happened that they told me about. I can't remember all of them. I know Michael, my ex-husband, said one time he had come out of the kitchen and he was standing in the doorway looking into the dining room talking to, it was, I can't remember his name, Mark, who worked for the power company. What's Mark's, his last name starts with a T. I can't remember. But anyways, Mark was sitting at a table and Michael was standing in the doorway talking to Mark. Behind Mark at that table, Mark was the only customer in at the time. The table behind Mark, the chair pulled out, and Michael saw the chair move, like get pulled out. And Michael said, did you see that? And Mark said, no, but I heard it. So that was the thing that Michael experienced, something actually moving. The only thing I experienced there was through the restaurant. There's a big dining room, and then we had a small dining room, and the kitchen was off of the small dining room. And then if you kept going, there was a little hallway, and then there was a bathroom on either side. And at the end of the hallway, there was a door to get into the garage, which is like the storage area and everything too. And you went down these 3 steps into the whole storage garage area. Those 3 steps were made of wood, and they kind of creaked, like not a creak, but like a specific noise that they made when you went down those 3 steps or up those 3 steps. One night I was closing up, it was, customers were gone, everything was done. I locked the back door to the garage storage area because I didn't need to go in there. I was sitting in the small dining room at the table doing the paperwork, and I distinctly heard footsteps come up those 3 steps in the garage. And I was like, okay, do I sit here and finish doing the paperwork, or do I clean it all up and do it tomorrow and get the heck out of here? Because that was scary. I knew nobody was there, but I heard the distinct steps up those 3 steps, and I was by myself. It was nighttime, and so I just packed up and left and went back the next day. That's the only experience I had there. We didn't feel ever that Tom was a negative spirit or anything like that. Just a ghost hanging out in the building. So we did have haunted houses there too. We did 2 haunted houses at the restaurant, which were awesome. And because it's the season, I will post links to those as well on my Facebook, because I like sharing them especially because I can't do haunted houses now because I don't plan them and there's more liability and everything. I just haven't done any haunted houses here in the UK. So I kind of live in the past with those haunted houses, that I really miss them and loved doing them. So I'll post the links to those. But that was all for in Saskatchewan. And then so I was still living in Saskatchewan. I was following Jackie from Rescue Mediums online, and I quickly tell you how I first saw Steve, even though I didn't know that I would have feelings for him or marry him, but I do remember the moment I saw him, and he remembers the moment that he first saw me as well. So that's really cool because we ended up getting married. But I saved up my money in 2012 to go on to the retreat once I found out they did retreats in Canada. Although it was all the way in Ontario, and I was, like I said, living in Saskatchewan. So I didn't have a lot of money, but I was determined to go to this spiritual thing and meet Jackie, who was somebody that I really liked. You know how I was talking about Laura Richards in the crime world and how much work she's doing for an advocacy and getting things out there for abusive relationships and the coercive control? Well, it's the same type of thing, but in a different area of my life. Meeting Jackie was huge to me because I had learned so much from her watching the show and everything else, and she just already was one of my mentors. So when I walked in, my friend Lisa Young from Ontario, I was staying at her house, and she drove me to my first retreat, and she came in to meet this person to make sure that I was safe. Thank you, Lisa, for looking out for me, especially seeing Lisa and her family. Lisa, I became friends with online. Do you remember back in the days, the MSN spaces? Well, that was more of blogging and stuff. And me and Lisa Young and my friend Diana, who I've had on here, the one that wrote the book. Yeah. And who else was? Oh, and Lisa's sister, Lori. I'm missing someone. Someone else that used to be in our MSN spaces that we used to... Anyway, so that's where I met her. So I met her online, and that was my first time meeting her, and I stayed at her place with her mom and Grandma Dolly and her kids at the time. Oh, well, one of her sons. Both of her sons have passed away. They both had MDS. No, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, so DMD. Duchenne muscular dystrophy, it affects only boys, and both of them had it, and unfortunately they both passed away. Life expectancy was early to mid-20s, but one of them was still alive when I met her. So Dan and Matt are the kids. Matt had already passed away. Dan was still there when I was there for the first year, and Grandma Dolly and Lisa's husband Ron. Anyways, so I stayed with them, and then Lisa dropped me off at the retreat. I walked in and I was like, oh my God, Jackie! And then I saw this guy in the corner, moving a printer or something around, and I was like, who's that? And I was like, oh, obviously she needs an assistant, because I'm thinking this lady's from TV, she's famous and everything else. Well, little did I know that the guy in the corner named Steve Furlong was not her assistant. It was her business partner in this world of teaching spiritual stuff. Where they have Feathers Academy together. So that's how I met Steve. So they were both my teachers for the retreat. And I went back each year for 3 years in a row. And it was on the third year that me and Steve realized we had feelings for each other. So they did continue to have a few more retreats in Canada, and they are planning in the future, but I didn't get to go to any more after the third one because I was living in England after that, living with my teacher, so I didn't need to go on the retreats. So my point of that was, meeting and learning from Jackie and Steve. So on the first retreat, again, that's when I, with spirit stuff, when I walked in to my first retreat, I was like, oh my God, my people. It was the first time in my life. And now remember, I'm about 2012. So 20, hang on. So if I moved here when I moved here, so I'm 45. I moved here 10 years ago, which I would have been 35. And 2 years before that, 33. So 33. And what was I saying? Learning from them, all the experiences I had. 33. I don't remember, but it had to do with like learning about spirit and how to. Okay, so grounding and protecting is the most important thing. We just went to a Paracon yesterday, like paranormal conference, and it was crazy how many of these people who are in these groups of like ghost hunting and even, well, there's all these different like paranormal groups and everything, and so many of them, when they came up to Jackie and Steve because they were doing the aura camera, they didn't know what an aura was. They didn't know what their chakras were. So for those of you who don't know, your aura is the magnetic field around you. We all living things, plants, animals, and people have a magnetic field around them. The Earth has it too. That's like the northern and southern lights, like Aurora Borealis. It's a magnetic field. So we all have a magnetic field around us. If you're like tired, and sometimes you'll see like a bit of a glow around a person when your eyes are lazy or like soft focused, you'll see like a little bit of a glow around a person. So say you're sitting in class and you're bored and you're like, and then you just kind of see like in the dim lighting, there's a little bit of a glow around someone. That's the beginning of their aura. So some people can see the colors around a person. Those are their auras. Some people can see them just with their naked eyes, and others like me would probably be able to see them if we practiced and practiced and practiced. It is a scientific thing. You do have an aura. There is a magnetic field around you. It is colorful. The colors, then if you believe in the spiritual stuff, the different colors mean different things, and you know what's going on in your life, what's going on with your health and everything else. But you do, even if you believe in science, you do have a magnetic field around you. When you interact with somebody, when you come close together, your energy, your magnetic field and their magnetic field will blend together. Like, they don't join and blend, but you're in each other's space. You're in each other's like energy fields, right? So that's your aura. Your chakras are, I can't remember what they're called. Like, they're points on your body. I don't know if they're energy points or whatever, but you have quite a few of them actually in your body, but there's the 7 basic chakras. Your crown is right on top of your head. Your third eye is right here, where behind that is your pituitary gland in your head. So you have your crown chakra, third eye. You have your throat chakra. So that's 3 of the basic 7. You have your heart chakra. You know, when you have heartache or when you feel things like deeply with your heart, that's your heart chakra. So it's 4. You have your solar plexus, which is like kind of like where your diaphragm is. So that's 5. That's your solar plexus, feeling things in your gut feeling, all of that. That's in your solar plexus. Then you have your sacral chakra, which is just below your belly button. It is, it's above your hairline, but below your belly button. So that's your sacral chakra. That's 6. And then your root chakra, which is like sort of above your bum, like it's on your bum, above your where your bum crack starts, sort of. But so that's your 7 basic. So your root chakra is, you know, it helps ground you. If you imagine red light coming out of it, helps ground you and everything. And your crown chakra is like your light, your beacon. So what happens is people who attract spirits probably have their crown chakra open. When you open your crown chakra, the way that we picture it from learning from Jackie and Steve, and a lot of people do, is like a blossom opening. So a bloom, like a flower opening, and petal by petal. So it's open. It's like sending a beacon out into the world, like a light. So it's like you're walking around with the light above your head going around, and the spirits are going to see that you're open and that you know, that's where they'll be attracted to you. But it'll drain you because it's energy work. So you'll be very exhausted if your crown chakra is open all the time. So how to close it? You imagine that that blossom is closing petal by petal into a tight bud. So it's nice and closed. Your third eye, that's where your imagination is. When you close your eyes, if you see things and that's your third eye. And what was I going to say? Beacon. So anyways, opening your chakras when you want to work with spirit and do stuff like that, and closing your chakras. If I picture this, like I picture my eye as the eye of Ra, that's that like Egyptian eye. But even if you picture it as a door or whatever, you just, when you want to close it, close the eyelid or close the door. You can do the throat chakra, if anything, however you picture it. If you picture it a circle or a doorway, just close it. Make sure those are closed when you don't want to work with spirit. So that's your chakras. Grounding and protecting. I want to give the basics for this, and then we'll get back into ghost stuff. Grounding and protecting is really important. Grounding, again, I've told you guys this with like picturing roots coming out of your feet into the ground, holding you down. Red and brown are grounding colors, so those will keep you more grounded. So you don't get lightheaded and float into space. Or I live in the clouds a lot of the time, so I need to. Jackie and Steve are always like, bring it down, Lisa, bring it down, which reminds me just to ground myself. Protection is important, especially when you're working with energy. You know when you know that there's a negative person in your life and you don't like the way they drain you, or you just don't like being around them. So picture a bubble around you, and that's your protection. You're protecting yourself. You can picture white light around you, just something to keep them away from you. And even if it's somebody even more negative, and I've done this in the past where I picture mirrors all around me, but the mirrors are facing outwards. So anything that they give me, that they're trying to send to me, their negativity, their hate, whatever, it just bounces off those mirrors and goes right back to them. So those are some protection things. So grounding and protecting is really important. Those are your chakras and your aura. I explained that. So learning from Jackie and Steve. On the first retreat, we went out on one of the days in the evening, we went for a little bit of a ghost hunt at this old house. And me and Jackie were sitting in the garden by the pond, or I don't know. No, we were in a shed. We were sitting in a shed out in the backyard garden, and we were talking about what we were seeing. And we were both seeing a lady sitting on I don't know if she's on a bench or just sitting next to the pond. But it was so cool because, again, she was like my mentor, I looked up to her like on TV, everything. And here we were connecting to the same spirit. Her and I were seeing the same thing in our mind. I would say something and she would say something, and we were seeing the same thing. That was like such a cool experience for me still now, like to connect with somebody else where they're seeing the same thing in their mind that I'm seeing. Like how much more confirmation or validation. And it was in a way that it wasn't like if I said she had a flower dress on, and Jackie just says, oh, yeah, a flower dress. It wasn't like that. It was like the things that we were saying to each other, it was obvious that we were seeing the same things, not just confirming for the sake of confirming to the other person. So that was very cool. That's on my list about connecting with Jackie, with the lady by the pond. Okay, so when after my first husband left and before I started dating Steve, in those 2 years, Michael walked out 2 weeks before my first retreat. And then, like I said, on the third year, so it was 2 years later, but the third retreat, that's when me and Steve realized we had feelings for each other. So in those 2 years, there was one of my best friends. He still is one of my best friends, but I knew that we wouldn't make good partners, like dating or anything else. It would have been a toxic relationship, but I still care deeply for him, and I send him love and positive energy all the time. But his name is Sid. Well, his name is Henry, but Sid was his stage name because he's a musician. So when I was single in those 2 years, him and I were, like I said, really close friends. We never really dated per se, but we were kind of, getting to know each other. Well, we knew each other for, I don't know how to say it, just like whatever. But anyways, this one time when I was driving between Saskatchewan and Edmonton, I was driving home, I think, from Edmonton to Saskatchewan. All of a sudden, I had a visitor in my car. And it was Sid's dad, who I had never met in real life. He had passed away. And all of a sudden, he was like lecturing me in a dad way, like not in a bad way, but more in a dad way, saying like, you guys know better than this and blah, blah, blah. Basically, like, not out of wedlock that we were, getting to know each other, but more like, choose this, like, are you guys together or are you not together? Like, he was just, and I was like, this is so weird to like get a dad lecture from, and again, at this point, my dad is still alive. So yeah, it was really weird to like have this spirit be giving me a dad lecture while I'm driving home from the other side. Before that, speaking of parents from the other side, After my ex-husband Michael's mom died, we were already split up. So this was around the same time. And I thought, after she died, I thought, she's going to see everything I did for her son, how much, I tried to help him, love himself or be a better person, or she's going to see how great I was. And she's going to be, I'm sorry that I treated you bad. Because Michael's mom, she was quite nice to me and accepting of me, but I knew that she didn't really care for me. And it wasn't that it was just that we were a different type of people. It wasn't that she thought I was a bad person or that she hated me. It's just that we didn't click. And his family didn't ever really like me. But they always accepted me, and she was never rude to me or anything like that. But in my mind, I was thinking, she's going to see now how good I was and how blah, 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 She'll have a better view of me and not dislike me so much. Well, that wasn't true, because when she came to me and the same thing, she was saying this and this and this, and I'm like, blah, 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 and just like how we would be in real life. And then finally I said, wait a second, you're dead. I don't have to listen to this anymore, so you can go away. So, and then she did, and I didn't hear from her again. I still have lovely things to say about her. She was a great person. Like I said, just because our personalities didn't click doesn't mean that either of us are bad people. She was a great person. She had so many life experiences and stories that I wish she would have recorded. I even bought her a handheld tape recorder, which she didn't use. And yeah, there's just so many stories that died with her, and it's just too bad. But that's still the girl's grandma, and she was a great person. She was a wonderful mom, and she was an even better grandma to her grandkids. So I don't want to say anything negative about her, but it was interesting that, like I said, I thought she would be like a bit different after she died and just have this like whole, but unfortunately when we die, we still have the same personalities basically, and then we have to go through the life review and do the work to see what we did and what we could have done better and where we hurt people and all of that stuff. But, so like I said, when Michael's dad came through, he was saying to Michael about he's sorry that he wasn't a better father in life and da-da-da-da. So because he had already been passed away for a while, and so he had done some of that work. When Michael's mom came through to me, it was still fresh, and she was still just the same as when she was alive. So, let me check the time that we're at. But I hope you guys are having as much fun as I am. We're at 41 minutes, so... meeting and learning from Jackie and Steve, connecting, okay. Sid's dad, Michael's mom. So, I told you guys last week about Jason, my son that I had in a previous life. And I told you I would tell you guys about him again. During my time with Steve and Jackie, doing the retreats, and then when I moved here, taking classes with them and everything else, we would do guided meditations. There's different ways to meditate. Like I said, when I would sit in the shower, sometimes if you're relaxed, if you're doing dishes, if you're going for a walk, you just get into that state where you're just calm and chilled, and you can just meditate like that, just focusing on it. Even prayer can be meditation. So you just, mindful, but guided meditation is where someone is guiding you and you're imagining in your mind what they're saying. So they might say, like, you're walking through a field and now you find a stream. You sit down by the stream. And then in a good guided meditation, they won't tell you everything you're doing. They'll give you time to just, okay, so you're sitting by the stream, look around. What do you see? Is anybody there with you? And, so that you have your own experience. So these things would happen. One of the, either on, I think it was like on one of the retreats, we did a meditation to meet our spirit guide. So sometimes, like, if you're not ready to meet your spirit guide, or they show themselves like only as a light, or they show themselves without a face, not in a creepy way, but just that you're not ready. It's not important for you to see what they look like, blah, blah, blah. There's all these ways that you can see your spirit guide. Anyways, mine showed himself to me. His name is Jason. He is a very, very, very attractive, North American indigenous man. And I found out later in life, this is kind of funny, like as I meditated and got to know him and this the spirit world and everything else and my spirit team. One time when I was meditating and I saw him, I said something about like how he looked, you know, and everything else. And then he flickered between like this hot, attractive man and then a woman and then I think maybe even an old person. Like he just flickered through all of them, showing like it doesn't matter what he looks like. But he explained that the reason that he looked like the way he did when I first met him, this very attractive man, is because he knew that I would pay attention and listen and be more alert if he looked like that. So that's kind of funny. Anyways, on another meditation, him and I were sitting in a field just talking, and it was, again, North America. It was a field. It was way in the past. I knew that. And because there was no modern houses or anything around. There was teepees in the distance and stuff, but we were just sitting and talking. And then I said to him, I said, you know, because I had ogled him all this time because he was attractive, I said, my son Jason from a previous life, I said, are you my son Jason? And he laughed and said, no, but would you like to meet him? And I can tell you, I was bawling in my meditation. Afterwards, when we're done our meditations, we can share our experience if we want. I was bawling, telling everybody. And I just told this story not too long ago to somebody, and I bawled again when this happened. So he said, no, but would you like to meet him? And this like about 8-year-old boy just came running over to me and jumping in my lap. And I can't tell you, it was like, again, it like, even though this was through meditation, whether you believe this stuff is real or not, the emotion, like I was holding my son, who I haven't seen in like hundreds of years because this is a previous life, but it was just an amazing experience. And just, so I wanted to I told you guys that I would tell you when Jason, my son, came up again, and that's when it came up. So, okay, so, oh yeah, reopen doors. I'm like, what's that? But that's what I was telling you about when I opened the door for the spirit people to go through. Okay, so, I moved to England. I take my courses. I do these meditations. I've met my spirit guide. I also know that my grandma Malone is one of my spirit guides. I see her there every time I do a meditation. When Jackie and Steve do the meditations, they always bring you up 2 steps. So you know how grounding is bringing you down? So when you want to connect to the spirit world, it's a different frequency. You want to go up a little bit. So they always bring us up 2 steps into, like under an archway and into this opening. That's, obviously it looks different for everybody. I know what mine looks like in my mind. It's a little bit of a garden and everything. And there's a bench where some people have a seat, some people have a chair, whatever. I have a bench, a little garden bench, made out of concrete or stone or whatever, and I go and sit there, and behind the bench is usually standing my grandma. She's always standing in my meditation. She's always standing. Again, spirits don't need forms, but she always presents herself as standing. She's younger, in her 30s probably, but because in real life, in her later years, she had a stroke and had to use a walker and wheelchair. That's why she always appears to me standing and very proud to stand. And she's tall, people are tall these days, like very tall, but she's not like super, super tall, but compared to me, who's 5'2", that's just what I see in my mind, is that she's tall, especially when she's standing, because I always do her in a wheelchair. And next to her, no, my dad's not always there, but sometimes he's there, but grandma's always there, and Jason's always there. And then you'll have you'll have a spirit guide who usually is, assigned to you from birth until you die. You guys generally decide before you come to Earth that you're gonna, that person. So your main guide is somebody who has already experienced life on Earth, but they've gotten to a certain point where they can be like a teacher, a guide like this. But there's no hierarchy in the afterlife in that way. Like, it's not like someone who's had more lifetimes is better than anybody else or anything like that. But anyways, you tend to have your guide who's with you your whole life. Then you'll have different guides, and this goes with animal spirits as well that are with you. You'll have different guides at different times. I know there's this little old lady and this little old man who come into my meditations once in a while. They live in this little cabin that I go to, a little cottage. So I don't really know who they are, but I know they come up once in a while. So they're like a once in a while type of guide, whereas Jason is with me all the time. So And my grandma isn't my main spirit guide. That's Jason, but my grandma is on my spirit team, and she's always there when I do my meditations. And she's always happy. She always does this with her hands, and she's just so excited because I think I told you guys this last week or 2 weeks ago when I did the first part, that she was raised really Catholic, so she wasn't able to practice this type of stuff. But she's just so happy for me that I get to go on this path, that I get to speak out loud about these things, because you got to think about like witches who were burned and people, like not everybody could speak about these types of experiences and things like that without being criticized or put in institutions or whatever. So the fact that I get to just practice and talk about freely my experiences and my life, she's just so, so happy about it and so excited that I get to do this. So, I was talking about, okay, so my dad. So when my dad died in 2017, he died in January 2017. The thing is that when someone close to you passes away, of course you want them to be around. They are around you, but you want them to like come through to you, right? I just had this conversation with somebody, a couple days ago about someone who is a medium, and they talk to the dead all the time for a living. That people pay them to talk to their relatives and everything else, and people's parents come through all the time. And then when their dad died, they couldn't get communication with him. They just, no matter what they did, they couldn't get, to have a communication with their dad. How annoying would that be, that you can communicate with all these spirits and these people who are passed on, but the one person you want to talk to, you can't. The thing is that when someone dies, especially the closer they are to you, you're grieving. And grief can last years. It's not just like a few weeks and then you're done grieving. And the more grief you have, the more closed you are to like the spirit world, especially to that loved one and everything else. So because I knew that sometimes you don't hear from your loved one right away, because they're busy or because you're grieving and they can't get through, it doesn't mean they're not around you. It just means you can't feel them. A good analogy I used a few weeks ago with someone that I was talking to was like, because they're grieving right now and they have a lot going on emotionally in their life, that they are closed and their parent can't get through, but their parent is there with them. But and again, I can take credit for this because this is what I said to the person, but the way the spirit works is that they usually tell you things and then you say them out loud, and I could take credit for it, but it was probably their smarts, not mine. But it was like being on the other side of a closed door. So imagine you're on this side of the door and there's a closed door and the other person's on this side. It doesn't mean they're not there. They are right next to you, but there's something between you guys. You can't get to each other. So it's a good analogy. I might use it more. I can imagine it, I can picture it, and it's just, Anyway, so I didn't expect to hear from my dad right away after he passed away, because I knew that for different reasons, I might not hear from him right away, if ever, right? Again, it's also based on if you need to hear from these people in life. I know we want to. It doesn't mean we get to. But, and then it's also, for other people, it's like, how open are you to this really, to the process and everything else? Like I said, when my friend Sean died and he came in, and I was open to the process, but remember, either him or I opened me up or something up, and it wasn't just, all roses and stuff. So there's different reasons that a spirit will come or not come. So don't be sad if your loved one doesn't come to you right away. Or like how I said, when I would dream about my grandma, and as soon as I would realize like, hey, what are you doing here? You're dead. It would end the process. So anyways, it's complicated. There's lots to this. And then again, it's even if you believe any of this stuff, right? So my point was that I didn't know if my dad would come around after he passed away right away or not. I'm going to have a sip of my drink. As I was telling Aaron and Justin, I was talking to Aaron from Generation Y, and I was talking about pop. Some people might think it's wine because I drank it out of a gin glass, but it's not gin nor wine. It is pop. I was saying about how I'm a pop addict, and he said, he didn't picture me as a pop addict, although I don't know what a pop addict would look like. The rest of you who know me know that I'm a pop addict. So I'm just going to have some of my pop, and then I'll get back on to talking about my papa. So my daddy, I didn't expect to hear from him right away. However, at this time I was dog walking, and if the dogs were trained well, or if they were new dogs and they weren't trained well, by the time I got them trained well, I would be able to walk the dogs or dog, and I would read a book. I used to bring an actual book, but then I would wear like a tool belt so I could put like, I had dog bags and I had a drink and my cell phone and then the book. Then I would have to, if I needed to pick up a doggy doo-doo, I would have to put my book in, and like it was just like so complicated with the book and like bending it and everything else. I don't like wrecking books. So eventually that's when I started taking pictures of the pages with my phone so that I could have it on my phone and not wreck the actual book. But so anyways, I would hold my phone, I would read, I would walk the dogs, and again, it's probably because it was like a like repetitive motion type thing that I got into that right state of mind, the right frequency, sort of like meditation, where Spirit was able to communicate with me easier. So my dad came in again to my mind. You can think it's your imagination because it's in the same place, it's in that third eye. But I would see my dad and he was talking to me and telling me like this and this and this, and I'm like, oh, okay. And now I tell you guys all this stuff about like, I'm not the only one who says this, but love your people around you, let them know, and do it now, because we never know how long we have with someone, and we don't want to take for granted the time that we do have. Well, me knowing all this shit and telling you guys this about living people all the time, I did it with my dad who's passed away. Like I said, I didn't think I would hear from his spirit soon, but here he is trying to talk to me, and what do? I dismiss it like he's always going to be there. And he is always there if I need him, but I mean like always chatting in my head. So I'm reading and walking the dogs, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, okay, yeah, I'll tell them, I'll write, I need to write that down, but I'm reading right now. Can you talk to me later? Taking for granted. So he was there for a few weeks, and, he gave me different messages, and I told my family, my siblings and my mom, I told them about what he said, whether they want to believe it or not. This is what I got. All I learned from my teachers is you got to give what you get. So the message, the spirit is never wrong. The interpretation and the person interpreting it, they could be wrong. Like the medium, me, I could be wrong, but spirit is never wrong. So all I can do is give what I got. I gave what I got, and then he didn't always come around. It didn't last forever. But one thing that was happening after my dad died, this is so funny. So you know how like ghosts and everything are energy, right? So they can mess with electronics. You'll hear a lot of times like when people go on ghost hunts and stuff, their batteries that they charge for their camera or their phone or whatever, like it'll just die. Like they just drain the energy out of batteries and stuff like that. People who are very spiritual and talk to spirit all the time and everything, they'll have trouble wearing watches or anything like that electronics, because they'll wreck them or whatever. When my dad died, everything in my mom's house, electrical, like she needed to replace. Everything died. She needed I don't know if it was her microwave, I know her stereo, there was just so many things that died right after my dad died. And now I was like, either he's trying to communicate to you through those things, but what I think is more likely is that because I wasn't raised poor, but we were raised cheap, and that's okay. It's good to be frugal and everything else, but my dad was a little bit too cheap, and I think what he was telling my mom is just spend it, he worked all his life, he saved this money, and then he died, right? So he's just saying spend it. If you want a new stereo, get a new stereo. You want a new cooker, stove, get a new stove. Just do those things for yourself. Do, you know what I mean, while you're alive. So yeah, but it is funny that he broke all the electronics in my mom's house. Or that's what I believe anyways. So in our house here, our TV in our bedroom, mine and Steve's bedroom, we would go up there and the TV would be on. And it would be on the drama channel, which we never watched. But, you have to take out the, I always forget what this term is. Steve even as a medium knows that you have to. Okay, so if you have a photo and the photo has orbs in it, those orbs of light, you guys have seen them before in my videos like this, so this is the same thing, what I was talking about. I do clean, but look, right now, we're doing a video kind of in the dark in the dining room, the same dining room that we've had lives from before, where you see the little, dust particles going around. Well, where's the dust particles now? Why aren't they moving around here in the same place, same phone, whatever? Anyways, when you see those orbs, you have to rule out the logical. before you go with the spiritual, right? So again, did I just dust? Has the dog just been running around and knocking, so is there things floating in the air, blah, blah, blah. So it's the same thing with the TV going on. Is there a glitch? Was somebody with the, playing with the remote? Did we turn it on and forget? Whatever. So it just kept happening. It happened a few times. We would go up, TV was on when we know we didn't have it on, and it was on the drama channel. And it was like, okay, well, maybe when the TV gets turned on, sometimes it just, or it was in standby and it came on and it just resets itself to the drama channel. No idea. Shortly after this, I was crying and upset about something. Who knows what? We realized in week 3, the week before my period, I get very emotional, and things that I can handle on the other weeks tend to just make me or break me on week 3. I don't know if it was week 3, but anyways, I'm a crier. I cry for many reasons, but I was upset. I was really upset. It wasn't, me and Steve weren't fighting. I just was really upset and crying about something, and I just wanted to go to bed. So I went up to my room. I had my back to the TV, and I was just trying to go to sleep because I was upset. And the TV goes on. And I was like, okay. I said, thanks, Dad. I know that you're here, and that's really sweet, but I just want to go to sleep. Can you please turn it off? The TV went off. And then I was like, I knew it! I knew it! I knew that it was him turning the TV on those other times. So again, you can believe it or not, but that is my truth. Now, this is another one about my dad. Shortly after my dad died, so he died in January, and this was nearing Father's Day, which is the same here as it is in Canada, so June. But so in the spring, I was out in our guest house, which is a caravan, like a little mobile home that we have on our front garden. It's 3-bedroom as well, but it's not as big as the one I lived in Canada. But anyways, so my mom, that came after. My mom was going to come in. So before my dad died, I asked if he would, want to come out here and blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, maybe one more trip, because he was in a little bit of poor health and stuff, but he thought he could do one more trip. He'd come to England. We had this guest house, so he was going to stay in there and everything else. And so I was looking forward to, and Thomas, our son, he built me, when I moved here, he built me like a fire pit out back, because he knows that in Canada we like to have fires, like outside, like campfires. So he built me a fire pit thing. And I was and my dad loved having fires all the time. So I was really excited to see my dad sitting by the fire and my dad staying in the guest house and everything else. I was looking forward to this. And my mom coming too. But, then my dad died. So the caravan though still reminded me, the guest house still reminded me of my dad, because he was supposed to be staying in there. And it reminded me, just because it was like a bit 70s, like old fashioned, and because I had just lived in a mobile home when I was in Canada before I moved here, it just felt like home, like back home. Like it reminded me of Canada. So I was in there cleaning, and really weird. I think it was Erica, but it might have been Aurora. No, I think it was Erica, she came and she brought me the post, like the mail, while I was in there. After school, she came in, and then she came, and I was cleaning the living room in there listening to music, and she brought me the mail. And I was like, what? First of all, she never brings me the mail. The mail just sits by the front door, and people look through it when they get in and see if anything's for them and just whatever, right? So she never brings me the mail, and I'm busy. I'm working, like cleaning. I don't even know why she would bring me the mail, but she did. Listening to music, cleaning, just doing my own thing. But she brought me the mail, so I'm like, okay, looking through it. And there's this one letter from, the gardens that my dad was buried at, like Evergreen Memorial Gardens, huge cemetery, different gardens, like I told you guys before, different gardens, lots of people buried there. But this is so cool. I think this is so cool, besides this experience that I'm going to tell you about. I got this thing around Father's Day, and it was talking about inviting me, although I couldn't go because I'm like here and it's in Canada, inviting me, like the loved ones, the family members. They're doing a barbecue at the cemetery for Father's Day. How cool is that? Picnic and barbecue at the cemetery. That on Father's Day. I think that is just like such a cool idea to do that for like going and visiting your loved ones and having a picnic or barbecue. Like, but also like the fact that it's not just you doing it, like it was a huge event thing. Anyways, so here I am cleaning the living room of the guest house, thinking about my dad. And then I get this thing about Father's Day and where he's buried. And all of a sudden, on the music, the radio that I'm listening to, this song called Run by Snow Patrol comes on. Never heard this song before. I'll put a link to it in the comments. Never heard this song before. And it was already a few years old. But it came on and the words were perfect. I was bawling because that's what I do, because I'm a crier. I have no doubt that all of that was from my dad, including the song. And if you listen to it and think about everything that I just said about this story, it will make you cry too. It was, the song is like sad and sweet, but it's also empowering. And it's like exactly the song that I need when I need a message from my dad, to know that he always has my back. After he died, I realized that he was like one of my best friends. I know that parents are parents and not just best friends. And he always was a dad. But at the same time, he was a best friend in the way that, even especially as an adult, you could always talk to him. And listen, my mom is my soft place. My mom is amazing, and I love my mom, and she is wonderful. She's like who I always wanted to emulate, who I wanted to be like, and everything else. It doesn't take away from my mom at all. But my dad was like my best friend in the way that whenever something was going on in life, unfortunately, a lot of times it had to do with money, so I probably needed to borrow money from him. So that is part of the reason I would go to him. But not even that. It was like, he was such a logical person that if I was going through something, I would phone him or go there or talk to him, and you knew you would get an honest, logical response from him. He would listen and he would tell you what he thought, but not judge you or make you feel like shit about it or anything else. And yeah, it was just really emotional to realize how many times in the biggest moments of my life, the hardest things that I ever went through, that I would go to him and talk to him about it. And that's how you know someone's your best friend. Who do you turn to in the worst times of your life, or when you need someone to talk to? So yeah, but I still love my dad. And when he died, people asked if I was sad. Of course I was sad, but I was so grateful for the dad that I had for all those like 30 some years, because in life, some people don't even get to have a dad, let alone have a dad as amazing as my dad was. So I am just so grateful for all the years that I got with my dad and the dad that he was. And so yes, of course, a bit of me is sad, but at the same time, I was never really, really sad. I was more proud that I got to have my dad for all those years and him be the man that he was. Yes, so Cheryl says, there are no coincidences, Lisa. Oh, I need my glasses. Oh, my glasses are a little bit, my hair is a little bit damp because I frizzed it down a little bit before my live. So Cheryl says, there are no coincidences, Lisa. There are signs and messages. I dream about both my parents almost every night. Yeah, that's awesome. I did dream about my dad quite a few times too. So Cheryl, obviously you're going to say that too, because Cheryl is, I have never met Cheryl in real life, but I know her through Steve and Jackie. She lives in Canada, but in Ontario. So I know you believe those things, and I do too. But I gotta like do my live for everyone watching, like even the skeptics or the people who absolutely don't believe. But they're here because they want to hear the ghost stories. But I do believe everything you just said. So Dad, talking about Dad. Okay, so reopening doors. I know this is like, we're probably already at time, but I'm going to finish these because I want to get to, oh yeah, we're already at an hour and 7 minutes. But I need to go pick up Erica as well right away. So I only have a few more on my list, and that'll be enough for now. Even if it doesn't totally bring me up to date to right now. So the reopening the doors, I did eventually. Unfortunately, it was like after I moved here. So it took me years to go back and open those doors. Like where my old trailer was in Saskatchewan. And I opened the doors, and there was still not as many as the first time, but there was still shadow people. There was that had gathered, and they were going through. And I did it until like there was only a couple left. Like again, I probably should go and open the doors again because there might be people gathered there. I never said I was going back, I don't think, to open them, but I could open them just in case there's people there. But it was less than last time, and it did dwindle a lot at the end. So I did try to get everybody through the doors. So I did keep my promise and open those doors again. Don't ask me why there were so many spirits that needed to go to the light. Who knows if it's like, maybe it is those people like that, you know, the rescue mediums are rescuing, the same type of thing, but they knew they wanted to go into the light now, but they needed access to the light and they couldn't see it before, so, or they knew that I was opening the doors for the light. So I did reopen those doors eventually again. I'm not going to tell this whole story because it's personal to, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to tell. Anyways, I have had other medium experiences where people that I am friends with, or I've done readings and stuff, and I've had spirits come through to me and say like, well, tell them this, tell them that, and everything else. So it's really cool that I have, call her back in a few minutes. It's really cool that I have the experience and the situations where I have these things. So I want you guys to look for signs around you. Like Cheryl said, they're giving us signs all the time. It could be in leaving feathers in weird places. It could be, ask them for something specific. Like if they're, you know, if it's pennies from heaven, dimes from heaven, or you could ask for something specific. Say, I want to see, you know, a yellow elephant. How random is that? When are you ever going to see a yellow elephant, right? And then just watch in the next few days or weeks or whatever that you might end up seeing a yellow elephant somewhere. Who knows? Maybe the person next to you in art class starts painting a yellow elephant instead of the colors you thought they should be. Who knows? That's how things work. Just look out for those signs. Let me know if you have any stories already, or if you have them coming up, or if anything happens to you in the future. I'm going to show you Gary the ghost, and I'm going to go over the other things, and then we'll call it a night. So this is Gary the ghost. He is a cushion, and he's so squeezable and lovely, and I thought the grandkids would love him, and I love him too. So Gary the ghost, and he came with that name. It's on his tag. Speaking of ghosts, I want to have a perfume that people smell and think, oh, that smells like Lisa. That reminds me of Lisa. So this is one perfume that I have that I love, and I do wear it. And then I saw this the other day at the pharmacy, actually. So it's a tin. You know, things are coming out for Christmas already. It's a tin, ghost. It's a moon, so it's witchy. You open the tin, and it's got a little tiny vial of the perfume that I use, Ghost, and it's shaped like a moon, and it is like purple. You can see the light through it sometimes. But yeah, how cute is that? It's so tiny, so then I can use that for traveling. And it also came with a lip gloss, which I haven't even opened yet because I was going to show you guys. So it's a little lip gloss and this little tiny ghost thing. So I wanted to show you guys that. And then other things I want to show you guys is, this is what I'm reading. Like, I'm actually holding a book and turning the pages and reading a book when my phone needs to charge or something like that. And it is, I need to get closer so there's no reflection, Witchcraft on a Shoestring. I can't remember if I told you guys about this already. Deborah Blake. So it's just about the fact that you can do witchcraft or spiritual stuff, and you don't need all the fancy dancy stuff. You don't need all the candles and the crystals and the pendulums and all this great stuff that people can sell you. You don't need any of that. All you need is, again, remember, grounding, protecting. Those things are important, but you just need your third eye and meditation and yourself. Just trust everything you need is inside of you and out there, but it comes inside of you. So you don't need all these fancy things. I didn't need to buy Gary for my spiritual journey, because think about all the things that I've told you in this episode and the last one, that all those experiences I had, and I didn't have to spend any money to have any of those experiences. Well, except going to the retreats to meet Jackie and Steve, but you know what I mean. So that's what this book is about. So I am enjoying it. I'll let you know more about it when I'm done reading it. And then The Witch's Path by Thorn Mooney. I told you guys about this already. I have this on Audible, but there's things in it. Again, this is what happens. I listen to a book on Audible and then I want the actual book. And so I did get it, but I'm listening to it on Audible again. And this is a great one for anybody who's interested in just dabbling in witchcraft or renewing their interest in it, or they feel they're stuck where they're at. This is a great listen or read about, like, what is witchcraft and blah, blah, blah. It's a great, great book and reference. And I'm listening to it again. Skull and Pestle, New Tales of Baba Yaga. I love Baba Yaga. Anthology edited by Kate Wolford. So I love Baba Yaga. She's one of my people, and she is an old witch from Eastern Europe, like Scandinavia, Ukraine, all those places. And she rides in a pestle and mortar, and she is like where like the traditional witchy look has come from. She lives in a little hut that has chicken feet, and it can get up and turn to different directions. And she's kind of like what Hansel and Gretel are based on, and lots of those things. So I love Baba Yaga. You can look her up. Baba means old lady, and I can't remember what Yaga means. But yeah, Baba Yaga is one of my favorite people. They keep advertising this. They're still showing me this on Facebook and everything else, the ads for this Season of the Witch coloring book. And I already bought it. So stop showing me. You got me. I bought it finally. I love it. It has writing in it. Like, it's got lots of things that color, but it also, it like tells you about different things while you color. It gives you all this stuff about witchcraft information and everything else, like pumpkin and turnip carving. So, you know, all where that came from and everything else. So yes, I've got it. Did I do this already? Stop, show the light. And then what else do I have in my pile? The only thing left I have is get your books out to do your end of life planning. So we're going to do question 3 again. Like I said, we're going over all the questions. We have 33 questions, but we're starting from the beginning again for people to start again, to catch up, to do whatever. So I've done questions 1 and 2. And if you want me to message you with 1 and 2 already, I will. Otherwise, question 3 is, who would you like as your executor, trustee, or power of attorney? Please make sure to confirm with them that they would be comfortable in this position. Also, think of alternatives in case your first choice is unable to perform their duties. So, question 3. Who would you like as your executor, trustee, power of attorney? I'm going to post that on the social medias after, when I get my posts done. I don't know if it'll be tonight because, like I said, I got to go pick up a little Erica. But that is me today, the end of another great rambling hour. We know that I can ramble. So from me and Gary, listen, it's this season. Next week when I see you, it's going to be October. So we're going to go into all the autumn and Halloween spooky dooky crafts and kitchen and everything Halloween and autumn. All right. So enjoy your week. We'll see you guys next week for something Halloween based. Bye guys. Love you. Erica, if you're watching still, I'll see you in a few minutes. I'm going to leave. I need to pee really bad and then I'll leave. Bye.